Hey guys, Bitcoin Owen here. Bitcoin is the answer to Ireland's housing crisis. At the moment in Ireland we have 17,000 people homeless basically because they cannot find a place to live. There just simply isn't anywhere for these people to live. There's nothing on the market, no rental properties that would be suitable for them basically based on their means basically, which is often rent allowance basically, or there's a new name for it. I think lately they came out with a new name for rent allowance. But Bitcoin is the answer to the housing crisis. We have houses costing a semi-detached 3-bed in South Dublin, $750,000 or euros, €750,000 in December for a 3-bed semi in Stillorgan, I think it was, in the south side of Dublin City. But Bitcoin is the solution to the housing crisis, because with Bitcoin we have sound money. So with sound money basically we have a sound economy. The euro is unsound basically because it's fiat, it's centralized, it's the supply is determined by the banks basically who lend money, and their policies and procedures are subject to regulations from the Irish Central Bank and the Irish government and the European Union increasingly also. So Bitcoin is not really regulated. Bitcoin regulates itself. It has these consensus rules basically that there will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin in the world. And this is important because with the euro there's no limit to how many Bitcoin there can be. Literally there's no limit, and they're constantly creating more Bitcoin, and that means that house prices are always getting ahead of people. Their income is always lagging basically the rise in house prices, and they just cannot afford to pay for a house. They can't get a mortgage. There's nowhere to rent. The rent allowance doesn't cover the rent, so they end up sleeping rough. Without sleep you can't work basically, and without work you've got no money and you're homeless. And Bitcoin rectifies that, because Bitcoin is deflationary. Bitcoin is constantly increasing in purchasing power because the supply is fixed, and the human population is always increasing. So that's how Bitcoin resolves our housing crisis. If we had sound money, the money that we are using, the euro, is unsound basically because it's centralized around the ECB and the commercial banks. They're the banks that create euros out of thin air, from out of nowhere basically, and lend it out as loans and mortgages basically to private citizens and get charge interest on the loan then. So Bitcoin is better than the euro. Bitcoin is not lent into existence like the euro is lent into existence. At the moment in Bitcoin we have the quantum threat basically, and they are at present working on it. The developers, the Bitcoin development team, is working on a solution to the quantum threat basically, the threat posed by quantum computers. The problem is that certain legacy Bitcoin addresses, which say the pay to public key and the pay to taproot addresses, are vulnerable to being attacked by a quantum computer and having their private key cracked basically and found out by the quantum computer. So that's the story for today anyway, guys. Bitcoin is the answer to Ireland's housing crisis.